For most young guys, dating apps are the place to go when it comes to looking for girls. And on the surface of it, they are quite great. Unlike talking to someone in real life, there's no awkward introductions, there's no awkward conversations, and there's no real fear of getting rejected point blank. All you need to do on most of these apps is upload a couple of pictures of yourself, add a few of your interests, and hope that somebody swipes on you. On the surface of it, this is the greatest concept ever, right? But for most people, it's the worst thing that they can do. And in this video I want to explain not only why dating apps are quite bad for young men, but also why it's extremely important to talk to girls in real life. So I want to start off by mentioning that this is kind of a part 2 video to one that I've already filmed. If you want to see all the statistics and all the data, go and watch that video, but this is kind of more of an opinion-based rundown on the same subject. Now, dating apps is never really something that I have been interested in, it's not really something that I have used, but I'm aware that it's something that most guys do give a go. Because most guys do find themselves in a position where they struggle to get any attention from girls. And I kind of know how they feel, but not fully. You know, I've always had female friends, good girls in my life in all potential meanings of the phrase. But for a lot of guys, this isn't the case, right? And they struggle to form intimate connections with the girls that they like. So when you turn to these dating apps, on the surface of it, it is quite good. However, I don't think most guys realise not only how competitive they are, but ultimately they come with a bigger challenge than talking to someone in real life. So, first I want to talk about how competitive they are. Now, that might sound like a weird way to word it, but think about it, right? I'm going to talk through briefly the statistics. Now, if you want to see the full statistical video, go and watch the one that I mentioned. However, for the most part, dating apps is something like a 9-to-1 men to women ratio, right? There's very few women compared to men. And what that means is, for a lot of the girls on there, rightly so by the way, I don't blame them at all, they're going to go for what they see as the best option. There was one time, a couple of years ago, where I set up for a friend, a female friend, a Tinder account, right? It was some sort of a joke, you know, we're going to find you a boyfriend. And I was astonished by how many messages from different men you kind of get, right? And it was going to be a surprise for her, I'm going to find some nice guy for her or whatever. But even as a man myself, right, after looking through hundreds of messages from all these different guys, you do get bored of the same haze, the same how are yous, and you do go for the ones that are interesting, are funny, are different. This is what most girls see when they log in, right? So if you're that guy, if you don't have great pictures, great bios, great messages, you're probably just going to get swiped past, even if in the real world you're a 5 or a 6, you know, because there's some other guy in there who's a 7, 8, 9, good bio, good pictures, funny message, he's going to get more attention than you are, as simple as. Whereas in real life, there's not that direct comparison, right? For most people, when you're on someone's Tinder, especially if it's a girl's, you are in a list of other guys. You're on a list. And quite frankly, the next guy that pops up could be much more attractive and well achieved than you are. And then we could talk about the types of people who use dating apps, right? Now that's a kind of different point, but a lot of the people that I've seen, men and women, especially a lot of the men on there, don't really take the position seriously. And it seems to be that a lot of the girls on there are looking more for validation in a way than they are for meaningful relationships. And that's only part of the problem, right? Because for argument's sake, let's assume that everything goes well. And let's assume that you are able to get a Tinder date, right? For argument's sake, we'll say Tinder, and any of the other platforms do apply. Well, what happens then? You may find yourself in a position where you're in the same place as someone who you might have talked to on the street, or arguably worse. Because you feel like you know a lot about this person, but you don't really know how they act in real life. And if you don't have the social skills and confidence to be that funny guy in real life anyway, the person who can keep the conversation going, you may end up in a worse position, because let's assume that you get somebody to go on a date with you, and you're awkward, and you're not funny, and she's not really feeling it the same way that you were on message, right? There's a clear contrast in the way you act or come across. That's going to be more painful and heartbreaking, because you feel like you've already made a connection with somebody, but it's not real. It's not in real life. In a way, dating apps cover stage 1, and stage 1 we'll say is this. If you have put together an attractive appearance of yourself, if you're funny enough to write something out, if you have admirable characteristics, it puts you in front of an audience of people who are looking for dates, right? So that's a plus. But what are the downsides of it? It only takes you to stage 1, right? And you will have probably had all these things in the real world, right? If you're good looking, if you've got whatever, that's going to give attention to you anyway. But when stage 2 comes around, you are going to be lost because you may not have the social skills and abilities. And this is what really sets a lot of these guys up for failure. Honestly, a lot of these guys would be better off learning good social skills first. You know, if you really sort yourself out in the real world, the results will be incredible. And this is true, I've experienced this in my own life, right? There was once upon a time, believe it or not, I don't think it's that hard to believe, where I was a lot more of a geek, to be honest, a nerd, a lot skinnier than I am now. Perhaps a bit worse off looking, but maybe that's because I've not grown into my face or whatever at that time. But, you know, whereas to now, even I'm impressed by the sort of girls who give me attention, right? So what's my point here? My point here is this. These apps are sold as a modern solution to your dating issues. And this is often, for most people, not going to be the case at all. They will leave you in possibly a worse position than what you're in now. They're expensive to pay for, they will not give you the results that you're looking for, and really, if you want to get those results, if you want to be the guy that gets the attention, it's not impossible to have that in real life, and that's a much more fulfilling thing to not only experience, but also then to be able to pull off and then have a successful set of experiences from. But how do you become that guy, right? And it's by focusing on yourself first. Because a lot of these guys want the results of hard work that they've not put in. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you can get a lovely girl with not being a well-achieved guy, let's not lie, right? But how do we become attractive? Well, I say we do it by becoming as attractive as we can to the largest number of people. And the context of this scenario, that means being well-spoken. Not necessarily with a posh accent or anything, but you can keep good conversation, you're funny, being well-maintained, you know, you're keeping yourself in good condition. And a few other things, right? But basically, what I'm saying is this. It seems like dating is another one of these markets that has been highly commercialized to the benefit of large companies. We're now sold on an image that we need these apps to have success in the dating market. And we're also sold on the image that, oh, the dating market's changed. Well, it's really not, right? It's really not. It might have done online, you know, it might be harder now online than it was 20 years ago, but in the real world, people aren't making apples to apples comparisons, right? Not really. Most people aren't. They take you on face value. And that really depends on how well you can come across. And that is a more beneficial way to improve your life status and your dating status and your attractiveness than any app ever can be. Don't be tricked into thinking that some subscription to one of these apps is going to get you anywhere, because not only is it not, it's going to take your money and it's going to teach you the wrong lesson. It's going to teach you the wrong lesson. The correct lesson will revolve around making the changes in maybe your physical appearance, maybe in your confidence and that, and having results based off of those things more.